Okay, here we go. All right. Sorry about that. So here we are on June the 20th in the year of our Lord. All right. June 20th in the year of our Lord 2026. I just got into this. Okay, let's jump over here and slide down here. Let me close out the chat for the moment and slide down here, and we have some shout outs to give from Jean Carlisle, just started following the channel. Plank Me just started following my channel. Kimberly just started following my channel. Bexy Kada just started following my channel. Richard Design Limited just started following my channel. And the Bro 122 just started following the channel. So thank you so much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. All right, BHops1 reposted my daily news wrap-up of 620. Debbie BS and Granny99 reposted my episode 1953 from last night. Misha7711 and Viper Senior commented on my episode 1953. Grand Mado 10 and InfoWars 96 and Debbie BS commented on my extra 736A. Debbie BS and Jeanette J66 commented on my extra 736B. And Debbie BS commented on my extra 736C. So thank you very much, folks, for reposting my videos and your comments. I enjoy reading them, and I definitely appreciate your feedback. All right, so let me click that. Appreciate your support as well. And Viper Senior, always a good comment. Good evening, fellow patriots. Where we go one, we go all. Rumble number 4 tonight. Thank you so much, Viper Senior. I appreciate that. All right, hang on. Got it. Good night. All right, that's my daughter going to bed. So there we are. What's going on here? Do I need to refresh this? Okay, I don't know what was going on here. It was something weird. So let me do this. Okay, so I need to share the screen. Okay, so I need to share the screen. There we go. All right. I think I'm not sure what that was all about. Okay, so I need to share the screen. Let me pause that. Slide down here. 1 minute, sweetie. Let's go ahead and get this started so I can give my baby a hug goodnight. ACLJ Sekulow, Ilhan, Omar, exposed in shocking TMZ interview. All right, well, let's check this out and see what's going on there.
A response that Ilhan Omar had specifically to Jerry Seinfeld, who was cornered leaving the Knicks game.
What up, Seinfeld? What up? Can we get a free Palestine? Can we get a free Palestine? Come on, give us one free Palestine.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Laughs it off and moves on. People start cheering. Look, everyone was in a celebratory mood, and of course, someone had to come in and try to get a gotcha moment from Jerry Seinfeld, someone who doesn't seem to care, but who did we approach? Of course, then we got to get a response. We got to get a reacts to video, Will.
Yeah, that's how the internet works.
People wanted Ilhan Omar reacts to Jerry Seinfeld.
Here's what we've got. This is a TMZ reporter going up to Ilhan Omar, squad member, and here's what she had to say about Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld has said again last night, Palestine doesn't exist. Do you think that's dangerous rhetoric for someone with such a big platform?
I mean, Jerry Seinfeld has been really horrific human being and an example when it comes to talking about the reality of the genocide that Israel has carried out. And I think when people prioritize their own people in the interest of harming others. It's very dangerous. And I don't even think of him as like just a celebrity and someone who has a platform in that danger, but it is dangerous just as a human being to talk the way that he does. It's very disgusting, it's very disturbing, and it's very genocidal language that he uses.
Logan, I don't think she knows who Jerry Seinfeld is.
Okay, she says he's not a celebrity.
She says, I don't even think of him as a celebrity or someone with a platform.
Like, doesn't think he's dangerous enough.
Yeah, right. Like, it's as if someone said, did you see what Jerry Seinfeld said? And she's like, who? And then reads it and is like, oh, that's awful. I'm going to respond to this. But I think we should play this because I think this goes also more to what she doesn't know who he is. Let's go ahead and play bite 3 from Ilhan Omar, where she continues with more questions with this reporter. Let's hear what she had to say.
Do you think like people hear words he says and like they kind of, get into their own brains as well? Like, do you think it has an impact, someone of his stature saying such things?
It does, because it carries weight. So many people are able to see it and hear it. And I'm assuming he is of Jewish heritage.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so.
And for him knowing that his people suffered the Holocaust and experienced what genocide looks like, for him not to recognize the genocidal language that he's using to wipe out a whole group of people is very disturbing, and people need to recognize that.
Logan, back there even, okay, Jerry Seinfeld may be one of the most famous Jewish comedians, like has brought in a lot of Jewish culture to be household culture in America. I would say
top 5, maybe number 1 most famous comedian.
Right. Yes.
Walking the planet. I mean, maybe you could say right now you have a Rogan or you have a Dave Chappelle, those guys who currently,
right.
But we're talking about long-term history, Jerry Seinfeld, top 5 at least. And yeah.
It's not a secret either that Jerry Seinfeld is Jewish. Like that's a part of his whole bit.
Yeah.
And the fact that she says, I'm assuming he's of Jewish heritage, I think it goes further to, she doesn't know who he is.
Well, his wife has been one of the, this is why he's a target. His wife, not only him, Jerry has obviously been fairly vocal, I would say, about his support of Israel. His wife is one of the leading activists. She's one of the leading Zionists, I would say, in the sort of celebrity culture of Israel. And this is happening, by the way, to other people. Look what happened with Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow releases a video promoting a condominium, pretty much a two tower units that are being built, New York style apartments that are going to be built in Herzliya in Israel. And look, she's not stupid. She's a very smart woman. She knew by doing this ad campaign, she was going to be bringing on a lot of people who are going to be very upset. So I'm very proud of some of these celebrities. We talk a lot of bad about celebrities. We don't necessarily, but a lot of, you said the conservative talking figureheads. There are some that make strategic moves that mean more and actually say more than making a political statement. I think someone like a Gwyneth Paltrow or a Jerry Seinfeld, again, people that don't need the money, taking the money even and becoming a spokesperson for Israel at this point, this is not, some of the, maybe the ones that they were joking around about, this is not the Milli Vanillis,
right?
Getting the money to go support, and don't care. They'll just take a booking comes. These are the top of the A list.
But even this entire back and forth almost feels like a bit from Seinfeld, where the individual here, a member of Congress, has no clue who Jerry Seinfeld is. It's like, I'm assuming, not that there's anything wrong with that. The whole thing feels like a Seinfeld bit. But yet here we are in reality with Ilhan Omar saying that he's a horrible person.
Yeah, I thought she said prolific and she said horrific.
Right.
Which, I mean,
prolific again, would be, he's done a lot.
Probably, the Bee movie.
Right. Hilarious.
The Pop-Tart movie. My kids love that Pop-Tart movie. My son actually had us go see Jerry Seinfeld after the Pop-Tart movie. Unfrosted. This is ridiculous, but it was fun. I loved it.
All right, there you have it, folks. I just want to share that with you. Let me click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from ACLJ Sekulow. This is the video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. You know, another example of the Democrat leadership. You know, she's one of the, people think highly of her, even though she lacks a lot of intelligence. But then again, consider the source. There are very few Democrats that have any intelligence. All right, and the ones that do have intelligence are the ones that seem to be controlling the cabal. Okay, let's jump back here. And thanks, folks, for all your chats already. This is fantastic. Okay, let's see what Benny Johnson has to say. Now, I've shared some information about Tulsi Gabbard, but I just wanted to get Benny Johnson's take on this. Tulsi Gabbard just exposed Dr. Fauci, dark CIA crimes, to her last act as Intel director. Now, I thought that her resignation was on June 30th, and here, I guess Thursday was her last day. Now, maybe she had some vacation time or something. She just, was going to use that vacation time to, go through the 30th of June. But yeah, I believe I heard that her resignation was on June 30th. She was be in the office till June 30th, but I guess not. So there you have it. Let's go over here, click on here, and see what she has to say. See what Benny Johnson has to say. Back into the beginning.
Back when Hollywood knew how to make comedies about 30 years ago, a movie called Office Space came out, a perfect treatment on the nihilism of the American office workspace. And 3 disgruntled employees on their last day at work took their aggression out on a printer, which was the single greatest annoyance and enraging vector for their workplace, and resulted in one of the funniest scenes in what I believe to be American cinematic history, as these 3 employees to gangster rap music smash the hell out of this printer and beat it to death. This just shows the basic aggression of the pent-up office environment and what it means to actually take that aggression out, finally getting the let out. And that's exactly what Tulsi Gabbard's doing right now. Tulsi Gabbard is on her last day in office, and she's left the ODNI role, and that sucks because we like Tulsi a lot. Tulsi Gabbard, however, dropped a heater on her way out. She brought the printer out to the middle of the field and beat the hell out of it, effectively nuking Dr. Fauci's entire life and career forever by releasing a never-before-seen report and communication and documentation exposing how Dr. Fauci provided millions in U.S. taxpayer funding to dangerous gain-of-function research in Wuhan lab and worked to politicize elements within the intelligence community to suppress the truth about his actions and hide the virus's lab leak origins, and then lied to Congress while under oath in 2024. Meaning, of course, he's within the window where you could absolutely charge the guy. It's time you know the truth, says Tulsi. I'll play you Tulsi's video in just 1 second, but let's go ahead and click on this report. Oh, yeah, it's real. Fauci funded Wuhan lab research that sparked COVID. That's the title. Holy moly. And here it is. Let's go ahead and read the top line here. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Anthony Fauci, the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, provided millions in U.S. taxpayer funding to dangerous gain-of-function research. That was illegal, of course. And this was the lab leak that sparked the pandemic. Tulsi Gabbard has now released the information that Fauci tried to suppress about his actions, virus leak origins. Whew, what an absolute heater. You can view the communications and documents here. They are. Oh, my goodness. So what is going to happen next is Dr. Fauci has to go to prison. Fauci's close intelligence community relationship enabled him to assume 3 key roles during the pandemic. Fauci funded risky coronavirus research linked to big pharma in the pursuit of universal vaccines worth trillions of dollars. Fauci was behind-the-scenes advisor with handpicked experts who pushed the intelligence community to endorse natural origin and hide his dangerous research. Fauci became the nation's pandemic pundit and publicly pushed lies, disinformation, and censorship. Fauci's relationship with the intelligence community, pushed public narratives. Fauci lied to Congress, retaliated against truth seekers. Holy moly. The following examples have been referred to the intelligence community's inspector general. Oh, man. Look at this. Spiraled in panic as Tulsi Gabbard prepares to unleash bombshell file dump on CIA mind control project and Dr. Fauci. Well, we haven't seen the mind control project MK Ultra yet, but the Dr. Fauci thing is real as a heart attack, and it's giving people a heart attack in the deep state. Tulsi Gabbard drops the documents. Gabbard says that the records demonstrate the connections between the U.S.-funded research, Wuhan virology efforts, and lied to Congress. Well, I mean, if you lied to Congress in 2004, then you're going to jail. You should go to jail. That is absolutely within a window where you could prosecute and prosecute savagely. Look at this. Kennedy thanking her. The American people deserve the truth. Tulsi Gabbard going insanely viral on this. Holy moly. Tulsi Gabbard, ladies and gentlemen. She's leaving office. Some say it's because of the Iran war. She was obviously against that. But she's saying that her husband has, and we, of course, he does. He has bone cancer and he's doing surgeries and he's been in surgery. Actually, he's done now 2 surgeries. Lies, disinformation, censorship. And so she's going to be with her husband. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe it could be a system where Tulsi Gabbard comes back in some capacity. I don't know. Big fan of Tulsi Gabbard, though. You know, obviously she's been a friend of the show. Over the last 15 months, Tulsi Gabbard has challenged the entrenched bureaucracy, fought Aloha director, and fought and ultimately serves the American people. Clap in, clap out. Aloha director. Well, there we go. Here she is on her first day, and here she is on her last day. I just walked out of ODNI headquarters for the last time. Thank you, President Trump. I remain grateful and profound honor to serve the American people as Director of National Intelligence. Just in time for the upcoming MK Ultra hearing. Oh, boy. Yeah. Sick to my stomach reading Tulsi Gabbard's declassified bombshells. They lay out the entire treasonous plot, weaponizing Zelensky phone call to impeach Trump, Rudy Giuliani. Wow. I mean, this is just, I mean, the network that these guys have put together. Finally, here we go. Thank you to Tulsi Gabbard. Anthony Fauci should be in prison. Dr. Death, the single greatest evil bureaucrat in the history of the world, and that's saying a lot, gives us a parting gift and exposes new information on how Fauci created or COVID and undermined President Trump, withheld information to cover his own ass. Best DNI the country's ever had. Tulsi Gabbard, this is Rand Paul, drops a bombshell with more evidence of Fauci's collusion. The release includes additional documents revealing the truth, lab leak origins. I referred Fauci to the DOJ multiple times for criminal prosecution of his web of lies. Thank you, Tulsi Gabbard. More to come. Arrest Fauci now. Final hours as DNI. She's doing God's work. Best director in history. Best director in history. Thank you, Gabbard. Prosecute Fauci. People should never forget what was allowed to be done to us. Where are the Democrats now? Wow. Okay, so I'm just going to play you Tulsi Gabbard's full explanation of her actions against Dr. Fauci. You've now seen how beloved she is, and this is her parting swan song as to why she is so beloved by the MAGA base. Somebody who really took her role seriously and honorably, and we're going to miss her. Here's Tulsi.
Before the COVID pandemic, Dr. Fauci, as head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, provided millions in U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund dangerous gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, work which is now widely viewed as the source of the unintentional lab leak that sparked the pandemic.
Wait a minute, folks. Let me know in the chat or in the comments who thinks that the leak of this virus was unintentional? Okay, let me know what you think, because I've got my own thoughts on that, and I don't believe that it was unintentional. I think it was on purpose, just to screw up Donald Trump's presidency, throw the country into chaos, and cheat their way in for the Biden presidency. Now, that's just my thoughts, okay? Let me know what you think.
Now, in support of President Trump's maximum transparency mandate, today, on my final day as Director of National Intelligence, I'm releasing never-before-seen communications and documents that expose exactly how Fauci worked with politicized career leadership in the intelligence community to suppress the truth about his actions, the virus's lab leak origins, and his role in directing U.S. funding for this dangerous research that caused immeasurable harm and countless lost lives. Now, these documents expose Fauci's direct role in influencing and manipulating IC assessments on COVID-19 and how Fauci lied to Congress in 2024 when under oath he denied knowledge of or participation in discussions with intelligence officials about viral research. We also received testimony from multiple intelligence community whistleblowers who reported retaliation for challenging the intelligence community's manipulation of intelligence on the virus's origins, once again revealing a clear pattern of suppressing dissent, silencing critics, and burying the truth. Dr. Fauci's close relationships with the intelligence community enabled him to assume three key roles that shield him from scrutiny. First, Dr. Fauci funded dangerous gain-of-function coronavirus research linked to big pharma and their pursuit of universal vaccines worth trillions of dollars. Second, Dr. Fauci was the behind-the-scenes advisor who, alongside his hand-picked so-called experts, pushed the intelligence community to endorse a natural animal origin to hide his dangerous gain-of-function research that he funded using taxpayer dollars, all of this in a deliberate attempt to cover up the truth and shift the blame and attention away from Fauci's own actions. Third, Dr. Fauci became the nation's pandemic pundit, and he publicly pushed lies, disinformation, and censorship using every platform available. Now, according to hundreds of reviewed emails, which are included in this release, the intelligence community almost always incorporated Fauci's recommendations. He promoted a fraudulent paper whose publication he helped prompt as legitimate information for intelligence community consideration. Senior analysts praised Dr. Fauci not as a policymaker, but as what they called an unbiased guide to the real coronavirus experts, while deliberately ignoring experts who might dissent from Fauci's narratives. Now, Fauci didn't stop there. He blatantly lied to Congress under oath during his 2024 testimony to the House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, denying that he ever spoke to any intelligence agency about COVID. Now, the correspondence I'm releasing today directly contradicts his sworn testimony. Now, we received statements from multiple whistleblowers revealing that the intelligence analysts who dared to challenge Dr. Fauci's COVID origin conclusions faced threats of retaliation, marginalization, and many suffered career setbacks. For example, a contractor was terminated just days after coming forward to ODNI as a whistleblower. Another example, those who advocated for the lab leak hypothesis or expressed dissenting views were reminded by their managers that leadership would determine which analysts would be promoted and which would not. The message was clear: go along or be punished. Senior leaders also sought to undermine whistleblowers by removing anonymity, which is required in the whistleblower process, as they made their complaints, and also insisting that their managers or attorneys be present during ODNI meetings where these whistleblowers were coming forward with their testimony, obviously creating an atmosphere of intimidation. The COVID pandemic caused tremendous hardship and pain for millions of our fellow Americans and countless people around the world. Now, after years of lies and censorship and cover-ups, the American people deserve transparency, truth, and accountability. The tactics that were used to hide the truth are straight from the deep state playbook. Politicized, self-serving leaders like Dr. Fauci covered up their own wrongdoing and abuses of power, manipulated intelligence, lied to Congress, and undermined a duly elected president by restricting his access to the vital facts he needed to keep the country safe. It's time you know the truth.
All right. I've not heard any commentary from the mainstream media on that report. I'm sure we will as time goes on, but it would be very difficult for them to. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. No, they'll just call her liars. They'll just say she's one of Trump's puppets. So, you know. But I kind of believe what she's saying there, except for that unintentional part. All right. And I guess they're saying that, clicking on the Rumble link here, we come over to Benny Johnson's video. But I guess she's saying that because they don't have any proof that it was purposely released. If there was some documentation, it would be nice if there was some documentation on that, but I don't believe it was an accident. Unintentional. All right, this is the video I shared with you from Benny Johnson. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here. Thank you for your input. At least I don't feel lonely here. Matt Morse, TV. Things just got very curious. Okay, well, let's see what that's all about.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, right this very moment, we are witnessing what is perhaps the single largest anti-Trump propaganda campaign of all time, the objective of which seems to be aimed at turning all of us, America First, MAGA Americans, away from President Trump. They want us divided. But today, we are going to expose all of this and really correct the record here. A lot of lies circulating and swirling around right now. Now, folks, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Follow if you haven't already. And make sure to find us over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into this. First off, with a statement from Donald Trump personal advisor, a guy named Alex Bruzewicz, inside the White House. He said this yesterday evening, and I quote, "Many of the influencers and anonymous accounts trashing President Trump's and J.D. Vance's efforts to reach a peace deal are being bankrolled by foreign countries who want a prolonged conflict with Iran. Others are bankrolled by those vying to run against MAGA in the Republican presidential primary in 2028. And then some of the others are just flat out dumb." He says, this is one of Donald Trump's advisors inside the White House. He says, Team Trump will deliver a great deal for America. So 3 categories. He says, dumb people, stupid people, they just don't know what they're talking about. Useful idiots, we can call them. He says another category here are people that are being paid by foreign countries that want the United States to get involved in a never-ending forever war in the Middle East again. And then there's also people that are trying to potentially take down J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio. J.D. Vance, Rubio are in the MAGA Trump category over here. And maybe some other outside candidates want to take them down. So they're trying to sort of poison this entire dynamic to ruin Vance's or Rubio's credibility. Okay, so here's the strange thing about what is currently happening here. Many of the people who were originally criticizing President Trump's conflict in Iran in the first place 3.5 months ago are now the very same people who are now publicly criticizing Trump's current deal. They're saying Trump surrendered. It's the worst deal ever. These people are just irrational Trump haters. They're hypocrites, some of whom are taking foreign money as a matter of fact, attempting to undermine and split and fracture President Trump's base. That's us. But you know what? As a little bit of a reminder here, these people have also been wrong about literally every single thing over the last 3 months. As a little bit of a recap here, we were told by these very same people that all of this would cause World War III, but it didn't. We were promised by these people that this would cause another war on terror 2.0, but it didn't. We were promised an all-out boots-on-the-ground invasion of Iran, 150 or 200,000 U.S. soldiers marching through the Iranian hillside. That never happened. We were promised by these people, these doomsayers, that every single 18-plus American young man would get drafted to go die for Israel. Never happened. We were promised an all-out nuclear exchange in the Middle East. Never happened. We were promised a flood of 100 million Middle Eastern refugees as a consequence of this war. Never happened. We were promised $200 barrels of oil and $10 gallons of gas over here in the U.S. That never happened either. Not a single one of these predictions ended up coming true. No, the opposite. Here is what happened. Trump completely obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. They've just promised to never pursue nuclear weapons and also to hand over their already enriched nuclear material, the nuclear dust. Trump dropped over 15,000 bombs over the course of 2 months on Iran and caused in total, right around $1 trillion worth of damage all across Iran. Trump sank the entire Iranian Navy. It now rests at the bottom of the ocean and blew up over 750 of Iran's top military and political leaders. They're all dead. And worth noting, he accomplished all of this in less than 3 months. But then also you have people saying that President Trump only did all of this because he's bought and paid for by Israel. Have you heard that? Despite him now shutting down this entire situation, much to the frustration and ire of the Israelis. They want us to keep on going. Doesn't really make sense, does. A little bit oxymoronic. But okay, here's a good question. So if Trump didn't just do all of this for Israel, very clearly that's not the case because he just shut it down, much to their frustration, why did all of this happen in the first place? Well, as a reminder, here is what President Trump himself had to say all the way back on February 28th, the very first day of Operation Epic Fury. Here's a quote from his transcript. He said this: "For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests." He said, quote, "We are going to destroy their missiles and raze their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We are going to annihilate their Navy." He said, quote, "We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they're sometimes called, to gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans." He concludes by saying, quote, "And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon." This is Trump's explanation or justification for why we got into this entire situation. On day one of Operation Epic Fury, this is what he told the American people. This is what he said. In fact, he said it on video. There's a video of this. And we just read through the transcript. Okay. Good question here. Did all of that happen? Was all of that accomplished? Well, if you go through all of the bullet points, yes, of course. As a matter of fact, notice he didn't say anything about regime change. A lot of people that maybe wanted that injected that into all of this. Trump has not once, feel free to try to prove me wrong, Trump has not once ever promised complete and total comprehensive regime change. He never has said that. He has said we got that anyway by nature of blowing up 750 of the Iranian regime's leaders, but he never said comprehensive regime change was one of his goals. But also, as we've talked about numerous times here on this very broadcast, there were numerous other, perhaps less public reasons to go into Iran as well. And this is where things get a little bit complex. A lot of people have difficult understanding the nuance, but we're going to go ahead and break down those reasons as well right now. Number one, the United States of America has numerous defense agreements with all of the Arab Gulf nations. It works like this. We secure their position in the Middle East, and they predominantly sell their oil in the US dollar. This relationship here, we protect them. We secure their position in the Middle East. They sell oil in the US dollar. This relationship is actually the backbone of the global US petrodollar system and reinforces the US dollar's position as the global reserve currency. The Arab Gulf nations were growing increasingly concerned about the Iranian regime, and they wanted us to help do something about it. Perhaps if we didn't step up to the plate to help them do something about it, they might have started selling oil and other currencies. That would have been very bad for us here in the United States of America. There's one reason why we got involved. Another reason why we got involved is this. In November of 2025, the Trump administration actually explicitly stated that its long-term objective in the Middle East is to draw down U.S. presence in the region and ultimately hand over operational control to our regional allies in the Middle East. The goal is to refocus on the Western Hemisphere and in the Pacific, because the Trump administration properly views the CCP, not Iran, not Russia, the CCP as our number one geopolitical rival. However, in order for this to happen, in order for us to sort of hand off day-to-day operational control of the Middle East and sort of pull out of the Middle East, we had to shut down the Iranian regime's capacity to project power and destabilize the region. So we had to shut that down because we want to leave and refocus, reorient in the Pacific and in the Western Hemisphere. The Trump, like I said, in November of 2025, the Trump administration released a publicly available national security memo. You can go read that. They said this explicitly. There's two reasons. Let's talk about a third reason. The Iranian regime is effectively a proxy force of the CCP. The CCP has played a very important role, for those of you that have been following, in kickstarting the Iranian regime's ballistic missile program, their drone program, and their nuclear program. It's quite possible, quite likely, that Iran would have a ballistic missile, drone, or nuclear program without help and support from China. China has also been financing the Iranian regime, propping them up economically by purchasing the Iranian regime's internationally sanctioned black market crude oil. China has been leveraging the Iranian regime to destabilize the Middle East, thereby bogging down and distracting the United States, while the CCP expands across the Pacific into the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico, Cuba, Panama, Brazil, Canada. This is what they've been doing. This is a classic example of asymmetric warfare, and the CCP has been doing this for decades. So to be very clear, China has been propping up the Iranian regime as their own personal proxy force to sow chaos in the Middle East, bogging down the U.S., keeping us distracted on the Middle East. Meanwhile, China is pursuing their interests, expanding across the Pacific into the Western Hemisphere. This is a big problem for us. There's another reason why Trump wanted to shut this dynamic down. Number 4, the notion that we have heard from the Trump administration that the Iranian regime was on the cusp of becoming so entrenched and so bunkered in and so well armed and well stockpiled that in the future we would be unable to conduct an operation like Operation Epic Fury like this, or some point in the future, should they decide to further ramp up their regional aggression, is perfectly sensible. This makes sense. We all just saw, frankly, we can be honest here, we all just saw over the last 3 months how difficult this conflict was from a military logistics standpoint. It's a difficult position to be in. Now I want you to imagine an Iranian regime with another couple years worth of preparation, deeper, bigger bunkers, more missile launch silos, more drones, more naval mines, more boats. The clock was ticking. We had to solve the problem now, because 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, perhaps we might not have been able to. It was spiraling out of control. Number 5, there's 4 reasons. Number 5, Trump still has ambitions to help end the war in Eastern Europe, and the Iranian regime has been propping up the Russian war effort for over 4 years now. In fact, at this point, the Russians have fired over 7,000 Iranian-made Shahed suicide drones into Ukraine, blowing up Ukrainians, alongside all of their other economic and military interrelationships. So here's my point. Here's why I highlight, there's 5 reasons why Trump decided to go in and do this in Iran, beyond just Israel. The conflict with Iran is incredibly complex. And anyone telling you that all of this is solely and exclusively about Israel is either ignorant or stupid or being paid to push an agenda. Israel now, don't get me wrong, Israel most certainly does, as a matter of fact, have a significant amount of influence over here in the United States, of course. But very clearly, as we've just highlighted, the Israelis are not the unilateral shot callers here. If they were, we would probably have 250,000 U.S. boots on the ground right now inside of Iran, don't you think?
All right, I'm going to pause it there, and I definitely agree with that. I mean, you hear that all over the news, how Donald Trump is a puppet of Israel, but I don't think so. I think he tries to get along with them. You know, he tries to support them as an ally of ours in the Middle East, but then when they go wacko, he definitely does not hold back on letting you know that he's pissed off at him, and he lets them know as well. But at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and click on this Rumble link here. I'm about halfway through this video, and he pretty much, talks about the same information throughout the thing. So I want to move on to some really good stuff here. This video does come from Matt Morse TV. This is the video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here, and I want to share some information from Redacted News. If you got a COVID shot, you need to hear this. Senator Ron Johnson reveals the safety cover-up. Now, see, we've got both sides of this. Okay, Tulsi Gabbard talks about how this was unintentionally released. It was developed and made it more adaptable to infect human beings. It was a virus that was in bats, okay? But they modified it so that it would be able to infect humans more readily, okay? It might have been able to infect them, but then, our immune system would be able to fight that off. But they tweaked it, so we couldn't fight that off so well. Okay, that's one side of the story. And then pushing these freaking vaccines is another side of the story. And I'll let you listen to Senator Ron Johnson talking about this. Now, they knew before it was publicly released that it was killing people. It was causing massive adverse events. Talking about adverse events, I was doing some contract work, and I live here in Indianapolis, but I was having to drive down to Evansville, Indiana. Okay, this went on for a couple of years, and I gained some weight doing that because I like lived in an apartment through the week. I didn't get out. I didn't do anything. All I did was go to work and eat. So I gained some weight, and I went to a doctor, and this was back, in the early 90s, I think. Maybe mid 90s, but there was a diet thing called Fin. Okay, it was 2 different pills. Okay, one pill curbed your appetite, and the other caused your metabolism to really work over, and it was fantastic. A lot of people used it, and the only side effect I had is it gave me a dry mouth. Okay, and I lost like 30 pounds, in a matter of just a few months. The FDA pulled Fin, because 3 people out of 50,000 that they were monitoring died. Okay, of heart attacks. Now you're talking about people that are overweight, and they're subjective to heart attacks. But that is nothing compared to the deaths and adverse events that is associated with the COVID virus jab. But yeah, I've talked enough about this. Just to give you a little comparison here, 3 people died from heart attacks, from a weight loss drug. Okay, they're overweight to begin with, and they've got, a stress on their heart to begin with. Yet they pulled it. And it was a fantastic, fantastic product. Just 3 people. Let's hear what Ron Johnson has to say about the COVID-19 vaccine.
Well, this is one of the biggest stories in the world, and yet the mainstream media has totally ignored it. Senator Ron Johnson is now publicly calling out the federal government's handling of COVID vaccine safety signals, calling it the biggest government scandal of his lifetime. And it's hard to argue against that. We don't even have a full accounting yet of how many people have been killed as a result of taking these things. Like, people always want to talk about the pandemic. How many people died because they took these jabs, actually? That's the real question. Johnson has been holding hearings on Capitol Hill into allegations that federal health officials downplayed, ignored, and even covered up these vaccine safety signals that should have been triggered serious public warnings and told people, hey, maybe you shouldn't take these. But instead, they were all over CNN, Fox News, every place promoting these damn things. And earlier this week, Senator Johnson even confronted a CNN reporter on why they're not covering it. Watch this.
Senator Johnson, can we get you on the COVID cover-up? So why do you think legacy media such as CNN is not covering this?
Why aren't you covering that?
I want to ask you about Iran.
You really ought to cover the fact that Peter Marks knew on March 1st of 2021 that their algorithms were hiding safety signals. On 26 days later, found out 25 serious adverse events like sudden cardiac death, pulmonary infarction, Bell's palsy, different types of strokes, and they buried it. They hid it. It's a major scandal. It's even as big a scandal that the major media is completely ignoring the story. It's been out now for almost 6 weeks.
Yeah, but don't ignore it. But I just want to ask you about Iran. I don't care about your little COVID story. Okay. Dr. Robert Malone pointed out in a tweet, if we permit a great forgetting, I like what he calls it, that a great forgetting, like we're memory holding this, then we enable and functionally endorse the same behavior and actions in the future. Senator Ron Johnson is one of the only people in a federal leadership position to reject this great forgetting. But we're not forgetting it. And we've got the author of that tweet, Dr. Robert Malone, on the show right now. He's the author of the book, Psy-War, Enforcing the New World Order. And he writes on his Substack at malone.news. Dr. Malone, great to have you here. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, and thanks for the little book promo there. I appreciate that. And to that point, we have another one that is in late stage development right now called The Grift. And the grift takes the metaphor of grifting that was developed in the 1920s as really a kind of a routine thing that carnies did, and applies the steps associated with the grift to what transpired during COVID, the various forms of surreptitious fraud. And it comes to the conclusion that basically we have a real problem with a system that is developed arguably since the early days of AIDS, that has been reinforced and refined over decades after decades and through multiple fear-based crisis events into a highly refined system for utilizing fear to extract profit, influence, and power. And none of the parties that are involved in what took place during COVID, of which the various frauds relating to the adverse events associated with the jab are just one aspect of that. I mean, we had the greatest upward transfer of wealth in modern history during COVID. We could go on a huge laundry list of harms that were done to the American people and worldwide. But there's been no accountability, as the senator correctly points out. And he's focused right now. And I knew he foreshadowed that this was going to be his focus before he ran again for Senate. He said to me specifically, he's a friend. He said to me specifically, he's going to run again, even though he had said he wouldn't, because he is the only one that is willing to champion the cause of the people that had suffered adverse events and deaths associated with these products. And that's not egotism. That's not narcissism. He literally is the only one that has had the, call it intestinal fortitude, to take this issue on. And he continues to pursue it. And what has happened here is that he finally was able to get Secretary Kennedy to release a large trove of documents that were partially redacted, have been withheld from his investigation committee. And he had his staffers go through those. And one of the first things that they found, and I know this because I was in his office talking to his staffers, one of the first things they found was what he's referring to in that clip. It's called masking. It's a artifact that was behind the ability of the FDA, I say it advisedly, the ability of the FDA to deny that these adverse events were occurring. And it was a particular type of data analysis artifact that was uncovered by the person that had developed the FDA's system for detecting adverse event signals. His name is Bill Dumichel, and he used to be the head biostatistician of a major corporation that does this kind of data analysis. And he was working with three others at the FDA, and I happened at the time to be in communication with those folks. I know Tucker's a big friend of yours, and you may or may not recall my first hit with Tucker when I disclosed that there was some major data problems associated with the analysis of the COVID events. And what Senator Johnson uncovered in these documents is confirmation that Peter Marks was made aware of this and basically suppressed that information, told the people that had developed, including Bill Dumichel, this system to overcome the problem of masking. I'm not talking stuff that puts on your face. I'm talking about a database analysis problem. And Peter Marks, head of CBER, shut him down and basically told him to shut up and ignored the information that they had uncovered when they had corrected the error in the FDA's data analysis systems.
Well, don't you hate when people say, I told you so? Yeah, that's me, actually, because I did tell you, sorry, but I told you that gold and silver were going to reap the benefits of excessive money printing, the Fed just printing money like crazy, overvalued markets, global unrest. It's here and growing your wealth. And you can receive $5,000 in free bonus medals with a qualified purchase. Do we know if Marks or others were coerced by Big Pharma, Pfizer, Moderna, et cetera, to keep this quiet? I mean, you're seeing these adverse events, these vaccine safety signals, and they just swept it under the rug and hid it from the American people. Do we have direct evidence yet? Do we know?
So, no. The honest truth is I'm not aware of any smoking gun. It may exist in archived or redacted or withheld FDA emails. The FDA asserts that they had disclosed everything that was relevant to the senator's query, and yet they did not disclose the many emails correspondence that occurred between me and this same team, something that the senator detected almost immediately when I began speaking to him about this. So there may or may not be smoking guns out there. They may or may not have been deleted. But the point of my analysis in this manuscript, The Grift, is that it wasn't necessary for there to be formal relationships like that, because the structure underpinning all of this, the informal relationships, not the least of which is the revolving door, which, of course, Dr. Marks took advantage of on his way out from the U.S. government, to land a very nice, juicy position in industry after he left the FDA, which is typical. That whole dynamic that exists, and we were speaking about media and the consequences of media no longer being able to rely on a decentralized funding base, but having to rely on a small number of advertisers and donors, often NGOs, such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That's created a situation in which media is no longer independent at all. They're very dependent. So when the senator asked the question of the reporter, how could I? Sorry, that was CNN reporter.
Right. Same thing.
When he asked the question of the CNN reporter, CNN gets a large amount of revenue from Pfizer.
Right.
And it's not because they're promoting the latest Pfizer drug. That revenue acts to buy their silence on inconvenient stories. So why would you expect CNN, which is a struggling financial entity, to do anything other than to be sycophants, obedient to the likes of their major revenue source? It's exactly what you'd expect.
Right. Are we going to see, I mean, that's maybe not a question for you on the subpoena front here, congressional subpoenas, criminal investigations?
No, the answer is no. Yeah. The answer that's one of the major conclusions of the book is that there's a bunch of, and it's a very nicely developed chapter of things that could be done. But the truth is that the Congress, Senate and House, is unable to even pass a budget.
Right.
They are completely incompetent in terms of their constitutional function in governance, which, by the way, is one of the reasons why power is shifting to the judiciary, because power doesn't evaporate just because somebody doesn't exercise it. As you know, power abhors a vacuum, and if the Hill won't act, then somebody else will. In this case, the judiciary is starting to step in more and more. But do I expect the House or Senate to take action here? Absolutely not. They have too much of investment in the same revenue sources, in the funding coming from bio. These are former lobbying companies, organizations. Bio Pharma is the name of a major lobbying organization. And now there's a massive new organization that is focused on mRNA industry lobbying that Senator Cassidy was one of the leading luminaries for before he lost his primary.
Well, again, in our own redacted chat this morning, we were all talking on the team here about, you have these parasites that come out of the woodwork who, of course, want us to continue to stay in war. We have a healthcare industry that's completely corrupted and funded by,
And this ecosystem of weaponizing fear to generate profit and power and all of the trimmings that come along with it has been institutionalized. It's not just infectious disease or hantavirus or the latest scare of the day. It's the climate crisis. It's war. Fear is incredibly powerful in terms of getting attention and sales and votes and everything else.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, even people who write like marketing emails, for crying out loud, know that works the best.
Absolutely.
Dr. Robert Malone, great to see you as always. Congrats on working on the new book, The Grift. Let us know when it's fully out. We'll love to.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that. There you have it, folks. I'll tell you what. Thank goodness for Senator Ron Johnson, because if it wasn't for him, this stuff would still be hidden. Okay, and you're not going to get it from the mainstream media. You're only going to get it from podcasts like this. Because, as Dr. Malone said, they've got a financial interest in not talking about it. Okay? And that is more important than ethics. Okay, this is the video from Redacted News, the video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. And first thing I want to do is, yes, Debbie BS, how diabolical. Yep, that's the mainstream media and the deep state swamp. That's what we've been talking about here for years, although it's been going on for decades. President Eisenhower, back in 61, warned us about the military-industrial complex. That's what we're talking about here. All right, those live chats are now a part of this video. Okay, let me remind you folks that these videos that I've shared with you here, right here in the description box, come directly from the producer. I've got the links to the videos in the description box as well as the links to the producer's channel. Also, so if you want to see what other information they have. And these videos that I've shared with you are videos that I've posted here on Murtech.com, where I have over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic and truth videos. The kind of information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. So that's why it's important that you share this information out with your friends and your contacts and your family members, so they too can know where to come to get the truth. So they don't have to listen to the lies and the bullshit from the mainstream media and the deep state swamp, Democrats and rhinos. All right. I'd like to share all this information with you, but unfortunately I just don't have the time to do so. But that's why I put together my Murtech Daily News Wrap-Up, where I have, it says 22 videos in here and about 9 or 10 hours worth of great information. I'm going to share this video here from AP for Liberty. He actually dropped it yesterday, and I had it in my playlist, but it didn't play. I had played like 10 hours worth of information and had to cut it off. But I want to share it tonight. Also, We the People News, some information. It's time for Operation Salvation from Operation Freedom, Dr. Dave Janda. Great information. Some more information from Tulsi from Graham Allen, and Icon 2020. Some good information. Judicial Watch, Alex Newman, Liberty Sentinel, X22 Report, The Sean Spicer Show, Robert Gouveia. A ton of information here, folks. So don't miss this. But as of right now, go ahead and take a break. Grab a cup of coffee and a donut or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, maybe a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes. Give me a chance to get this set up here in Rumble Studio. All right, but before we take off, I do want to share some information with you about Rumble Wallet.
They can cancel your accounts, freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever.
Introducing Rumble Wallet, a wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middleman, no cancel button, and when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference.
Designed for patriots who stand tall, this cap captures the enduring spirit of liberty. The Liberty Bell stands proud this isn't a credit line they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently. Yours to protect your future. Yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability.
Rumble Wallet isn't about politics. It's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom.
Okay, there you have it, folks. Now, I do want to say thank you so very much for joining with me tonight. I greatly appreciate that. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.